Good evening and welcome to BBC News. After travelling more than 300 million miles on a 6-month voyage through deep space, NASA has successfully landed a robotic probe on Mars. Let's see the pictures in Pasadena, where those at NASA Mission Control have been celebrating those nerve-wracking moments as the probe made its way safely onto the surface of the planet. It's now going to study the interior of Mars to find out more about how it's formed and why it's so different from Earth. Well, we're joined now by Sue Horn, Head of Space Exploration at the UK Space Agency, which has designed a number of crucial pieces of scientific equipment for this project. She joins us now from the landing party at the University of Oxford. Sue, big grin from you, I'm sure. So far, so good. Tell us what's going through your mind at the moment.
It's absolutely brilliant. Really relieved it's safely landed. It was exciting as it descended. So I'm now looking forward to the science that we'll get. The instruments have to be deployed.
We've got a bit of an echo there, so I hope we can carry on. Tell us what's on board, the instrumentation that you're so reliant upon.
Well, the instrument built by the UK is a short period seismometer, and this was built by Imperial College and Oxford University with some help from STFC RAL Space. And this is going to measure Mars quakes, which will tell us about the interior of Mars, how thick the crust is, how thick the mantle is, tell us about the core, is it solid, is it liquid? Investigations that we just hasn't been possible until now.
What might this technology help with away from Mars, maybe in other space programs or even down here on Earth?
But that's interesting because this is novel technology. They've done an incredible job. They etched the instrument out of silicon. It's only the size of a pound coin. And this means that it can be used in other applications. We're looking at the potential of using it for an inertial measurement unit, which measures acceleration. So you could use it if you're down caves for navigation or in buildings where you've lost the GPS signal. So firemen could use it when dealing with fires in buildings. Another possibility is using it as a gravitometer. So you'd be measuring the fluctuations in the Earth's gravity.
We shouldn't be surprised that it's actually quite difficult to land things on Mars safely. You've been involved in less successful attempts than this, Sue, I think.
Yes, I was involved in Beagle 2 and also the Schiaparelli failed landing in 2016. So I was really nervous, even though it was a landing technology that's been used before. It is so difficult to land on Mars. The atmosphere changes, so it's always difficult.
And how much can you simulate a mission down here, whereas you say the conditions are so different?
It's very difficult. A lot of it is done by computer modelling. You do some releases in the Earth's atmosphere, but that doesn't really simulate what happens on Mars. It can test your models, so you can be more confident in your models, but it's only really when you're at Mars that we test it.
It's been an obsession for years, this idea that we might actually land a person on Mars, but it takes 6 months to get there, doesn't it? How far away are we from doing that?
Still quite a way. It is our long-term goal. I will be going back to the moon at the end of the next decade, and I think Mars is somewhere from there because with the key technologies we have to test. We have to know we can ascend from Mars with people. We've got to work out how to keep the astronauts safe in such a harsh radiation environment.
Well, I don't want to go anyway, Sue, so I'm not in a rush. Sue Horn, from the Head of Space Exploration at the UK Space Agency. Enjoy the evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sorry, we'll just... Yeah. Seismometers are usually the sort of instruments that you wear, you carry around with kit gloves. You basically, they're very delicate. They can be placed in the field very accurately and then buried underground often. So those are the sorts of things that you wouldn't normally associate with basically launching into space on a rocket and then barreling through the atmosphere of another planet and then dropping it onto the surface. So we had to do an awful lot of work to prove that the instrument would survive landing on the surface of Mars. And a lot of very clever design features. The leader of the instruments, a guy called Tom Pike at Imperial College, and he basically had to design into the structure a whole lot of very clever designs to enable it to actually survive going into space, going on the way to Mars, then just doing what it's just done, barreling through the atmosphere and then landing on the surface. So we've had to do an awful lot of work of testing on the ground, and now we find out whether or not it survived all the way to the surface. That's the next big moment for us.
Yeah, and this thing is only about the size of a pound coin, but you are taking gross liberties with it, of course, as you just explained. So how much are the odds stacked against you on a mission like this?
Well, they're usually actually pretty good, because what we do is we have a rough idea from the previous Mars landings of what's going to happen as it's going into the atmosphere and as it touches onto the surface. So that means we can then design our testing on Earth to simulate those as accurately as possible. So what that then means is that we can then do all the testing on the ground, and then that gives us pretty good confidence that it will survive when it gets into space and then lands on Mars. So we've already tested the instrument on its way to Mars, and we know that certainly most of it is working. There was one part we couldn't test when it was cruising, as we call it, between the Earth and Mars. That's what we expected. Now, when it's sitting on Mars's gravity, then we can test the entire instrument.
Extraordinary. Enjoy the success. Long may it continue. Dr. Neil Bowles from the University of Oxford, thank you very much.
Good, thank you.